Greetings, guys, girls, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. A few days ago, something occurred that kind of blew up a little bit, rightfully so, and that is that Harrison Butker, a kicker for the Chiefs, which is a football team, made a commencement speech at a university called Benedictine College, which is a Catholic liberal arts college, and they got the kicker from the Chiefs to make a speech at their graduation, and it was a nightmare. I watched the first couple minutes of this and kind of just sat there completely just like slack-jawed, like jaw on the floor. And so I decided I needed to watch the whole thing, and we're going to react to it together. I'm actually watching it while doing a live stream over on Patreon. If anyone is interested in joining me for the next one, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat, and I would love to see you there. But yeah, so that's what we're doing today. We're just gonna watch this whole thing, and I'm gonna share some thoughts because based on what I know, it's just kind of not the place, not the things to say. It's just quite horrible. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do today, and I'm going to watch it at 1.5 speed because I do not want to sit through this in real time because I will lose my mind more than I'm already going to.
Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2024, I would like to start off by congratulating all of you for successfully making it to this achievement today. As a group, you witnessed firsthand how bad leaders who don't stay in their lane can have a negative impact on society. While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder.
How did is this relevant? Things that ruined university experience: COVID, abortion, euthanasia, and a bunch of other degenerate things taking place. They all had a really negative impact on these students' university education. What? COVID, sure, yes, did a number on us. We all suffered from COVID and the effects of that and how it took us away from school. Starting a university graduation speech with being like, fucking, the policies of the world are so terrible. Abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia. How is any of this relevant to my university graduation that is occurring right now? Hello? What's happening? That would take me so far out of it.
Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally.
We all have different values. I think that you can be Catholic and pro-choice, and I don't care, like that might not align with your values. I think that you can be Catholic and also pro-choice.
From the man behind the COVID lockdowns.
Wasn't Trump in charge of the COVID lockdowns? That was Trump, right? I'm pretty sure. 2020, Trump was in charge. He did the lockdowns. So I don't know why we're blaming Joe Biden for that. Like, that was just an all-round, in general, global thing that happened. That was not exclusive to the States, and it also was not Joe Biden.
I never envisioned myself nor wanted to have this sort of a platform, but God has given it to me, so I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it.
Okay, well, I think that you can't say you never wanted this platform, but God gave it to you. Like, you chose to play football and then, like, go on to, like, a professional team. Like, those are choices that you made. You did choose to follow this path to gain this platform. That's not something that's given to you. You did work for it, and you did try to get it. A lot of the time when people act like this, within their religious spaces, they're just driving people away, not really bringing people in. So they're not really helping anyone really at all. They're like, why are less people choosing God? Why are less people Catholic now? It's because you keep telling people they're not allowed to make their own choices. That's why.
As members of the church founded by Jesus Christ, it is our duty and ultimately privilege to be authentically and unapologetically Catholic. There even was an award-winning film called Silence, made by a fellow Catholic, wherein one of the main characters, a Jesuit priest, abandoned the church and as an apostate, when he died is seen grasping a crucifix, quiet and unknown to anyone but God. As a friend of Benedictine College, His Excellency Bishop Robert Barron said in his review of the film, "It was exactly what the cultural elite want to see in Christianity: private, hidden away, and harmless."
I don't think that's true, though. I think the Americans really like to act as though, like, Christianity is, like, a thing that no one is anymore. Like, so many of these people love to be like, we're not allowed to be openly religious anymore. We're not allowed to be openly Christian. We're not allowed to openly love Jesus. Like, that's just the biggest load of bullshit. 60% of your fucking country are Christian. Like, calm down. Stop lying. It's like no one actually cares. It's a problem when you start using your religion to hate people and to, like, be a horrible person and take people's freedoms away. Then yeah, we're like, hey, maybe shut the fuck up and let people live their lives. But, like, you are allowed to be Christian and, like, proud of your faith. Like, no one's telling you can't be. It's just how you apply that matters. Focus on yourself and then it's fine, you know? Like, most other religions are not focused on pushing other people into their religion. They are focused on themselves and how they're living their lives and applying their values to themselves. And that's really how you should be living. I'll leave you alone if you leave me alone.
Sadly, many priests we are looking to for leadership are the same ones who prioritize their hobbies or even photos with their dogs and matching outfits for the parish directory. Just as we look at the relationship between a father and his son, so too should we look at the relationship between a priest and his people.
It is so bizarre. You're so right. It's so fucking bizarre. I don't know how the US works, but I'm confused by what this speech actually is and why it's happening, because, like, how is this related to anything? Like, what's this got to do with graduating from university? Like, why is this the speech that's being directed towards the graduating class? I don't understand at all. Like, I graduated uni a couple years ago and I don't remember anything like this occurring. Like, I don't remember there being a big speech just talking about politics and, like, the world and, like, what's happened. Like, that's not something that I really remember taking place, being like, you need to stand up and, like, we as Catholics are learning this and this interaction with history and this is how our priests are. Like, I'm confused as to how this is relevant to people graduating from university right now. Can we get back on track? Can we, like, talk about, you know, what we're actually here to talk about? This is so fucking odd. It's so odd.
Tragically, so many priests revolve much of their happiness from the adulation they receive from their parishioners. And in searching for this, they let their guard down and become overly familiar. This undue familiarity will prove to be problematic every time because, as my teammate's girlfriend says, familiarity breeds contempt.
He just fucking, oh my God. He's on the same team as Travis Kelce. And so he decided it'd be a good idea in the middle of his fucking pro-Catholic, pro-life, misogynistic, soon-to-be homophobic speech. He thought it'd be a good idea to quote Taylor Swift. Well, that's fucking not great. Taylor Swift is not the greatest of people. But I don't think she'd appreciate very much having her lyrics used in a speech like this. If I was her, I'd be fucking fuming. I'd be so fucking pissed. Oh my God, I would file a fucking lawsuit. I don't even know if you can do that, but that's defamation, in my opinion. Oh my God.
St. Jose Maria continues that some want to see the priest as just another man. That is not so. They want to find in the priest those virtues proper to every Christian, and indeed every honorable man: understanding, justice, a life of work, priestly work in this instance, and good manners.
But, like, a priest is just a man, though. This whole thing is so fucking weird. It's like, priests aren't allowed to ask people for help. Everyone's meant to go to them for help. They're not allowed to struggle. They're not allowed to have relationships with people. They're not allowed anything. They cannot be familiar with anyone. They aren't allowed to ask for help. And I get that is kind of how it's meant to be, but I just kind of think that's a little bit fucked up because they are people. They are literally still just people, and sometimes people need support. And it's kind of fucked up to be like, you aren't allowed to ask for help ever, or you're a bad priest and a bad Catholic. Like, that's so sad. That's so horrible.
We cannot buy into the lie that the things we experienced during COVID were appropriate. Over the centuries, there have been great wars, great famines, and yes, even great diseases, all that came with a level of lethality and danger. But in each of those examples, church leaders leaned into their vocations and ensured that their people received the sacraments.
Okay, so see, sir, my guy, here is the thing. Yes, there have been great wars and plagues and things in the past. But did you also know that during those times, like, millions of people died? Are you aware of, like, how many people fucking died? And the reason that this occurred during COVID was because we were trying to, I don't know, stop that from happening. Like, I'm sorry you didn't get to go to church and have your services, and I'm sorry you didn't get what you wanted. But, like, sometimes sacrifices need to be made. We all missed out on shit during that time, and it fucking sucked. But hey, you're alive right now, and maybe more of your family members and friends are than would have been should the churches have stayed open. Come on, there are things more important. You can do your services online. You can still pray outside of the church. You can, like, it wasn't forever. In the grand scheme of things, a year is not very long. Like, it was a long time at the time. But, like, overall, I think it was better than it could have been way longer. Or you know what? It could have been way shorter if people actually just fucking followed the rules and did what we were told to do. I love when people are like, there have been plagues before and they didn't all wear masks and stay inside. Yeah, alright. And how many fucking people died? Like, I don't know what to tell you. But, like, they were pretty lethal.
For as a father loves his child, so a shepherd should love his spiritual children too. That goes even more so for our bishops. These men who are present-day apostles.
I think that the priests and things who were, like, keeping the churches closed and not allowing you to go in actually did care about you and love you because they didn't want you to come in and get sick and die. So, you know, I think that them keeping the churches closed and being like, hey, don't come in today was actually the best thing they could have done for you because it meant you didn't get sick.
Our bishops once had adoring crowds of people kissing their rings and taking in their every word, but now relegate themselves to a position of inconsequential existence. Now, when a bishop of a diocese or the bishops' conference as a whole puts out an important document, nobody even takes a moment to read it, let alone follow it. Today, our shepherds are far more concerned with keeping the doors open to the chancery than they are with saying the difficult stuff out loud. It seems that the only time you hear from your bishops is when it's time for the annual appeal, whereas we need our bishops to be vocal about the teachings of the church, setting aside their own personal comfort and embracing their cross. Our bishops are not politicians, but shepherds. So instead of fitting in the world by going along to get along, they too need to stay in their lane and lead.
It's so interesting because he's just said, like, there used to be a time when everyone lined up to kiss the rings of the bishops. There used to be a time where everyone read what they wanted to say and everyone wanted to follow them and everyone was Catholic and did all the things that Catholics are meant to do. And everyone wanted to be a part of this. And then going into... But they're trying to make people happy now and they're trying to do things and, like, they want people to like them and they care about what people think. I'm like, yeah. So are you like, you can't have both of these things. If you want more people to be Catholic and to kiss the rings of the bishop and read what they're saying and participate in these things, then they do have to be likable. They do have to adapt with society, because if you don't evolve as society evolves, people are going to move away and stop caring. And that's literally what has happened. So they're trying to adapt to bring more people back in because everyone's left because they haven't adapted. So you either want them to stay in their lane and have more and more people leave because they're stuck in like 1800s or whatever, or they're going to adapt and then less people are going to leave because it more reflects their own values and society's values. Like, you cannot have both of these things. You either want more Catholics or less. Like, you have to pick. If you want more, then they have to adapt. If you want less, then you can stay being rigid and strict. Like, take your pick. You can't have both. It really does come off as whiny and childish. This is a speech to, like, thousands of people who are graduating university, and he's just here being like, the church is closed during COVID, and that was kind of fucked up. They used to be so willing to break the rules, and everyone would bow at their feet. It's like, that, but get over it.
I say all of this not from a place of anger, as we get the leaders we deserve. But this does make me reflect on staying in my lane in focusing on my own vocation and how I can be a better father and husband and live in the world but not be of it. Focusing on my vocation while praying and fasting for these men will do more for the church than me complaining about her leaders.
But you literally just spent 10 minutes complaining about their leaders. You're like, I'm not angry, and me complaining isn't actually going to do anything. Then why are you standing here making a public speech, literally just complaining for like 20 minutes?
In a deliberate movement to embrace traditional Catholic values, Benedictine has gone from just another liberal arts school with nothing to set it apart to a thriving beacon of light and a reminder to us all that when you embrace tradition, success, worldly and spiritual, will follow.
For the record, Benedictine College has stated that they want to be an inclusive space for people. I don't know if what inclusive means to them, but they have called this speech very narrow-minded, giving a very narrow view as to what Catholicism is. So
I am certain the reporters at the AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it.
Just making like a homophobic joke in the middle of your speech it's wild. I'm just like so baffled by this entire thing. Being like, I'm proud that this Catholic school is growing, but it's not the pride that's sinful, and it gets a whole month dedicated to it. Oh my God.
Being locked in with your vocation and staying in your lane is going to be the surest way for you to find true happiness and peace in this life. It is essential that we focus on our own state in life, whether that be as a layperson, a priest, or religious.
So many times he's like, it's important to stay in your lane, to look after yourself, do what matters to you. And then also being like, and fuck gay people. Like, yeah, hey, my dude who plays football, maybe you should stay in your lane. Yeah, exactly. Maybe. He started this speech by being like, I am not a public speaker. So then don't be a public speaker. Stay in your lane, go play football, and shut the fuck up. The hypocrisy. How can you stand here and tell everyone, like, focus on yourself, stay in your lane, and then also be like, but everyone who isn't Catholic and who disagrees with what I'm saying, fuck you. Like,
Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2024, you are sitting at the edge of the rest of your lives. For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. I want to speak directly to you briefly because I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you.
Oh God. Oh God. Ladies, I want to speak to you directly. I'm terrified where this is about to go. Don't really want this man to speak to me as a woman directly.
How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
Saying this at a university graduation is fucking wild to me. Like, it's fucking wild. The nuns actually had a problem with this. Like, the nuns released a statement being like, don't fucking say that all these women should do is be housewives. That's very narrow-minded. You are at a university graduation where people are getting degrees, and you're like, yes, some of you might want to get jobs and you might be excited about getting promotions and having positions of power, but I know that most of you are all way more excited to be wives and have kids because that is your life's calling. Like, you're at a university. These people have just paid to go to university to get degrees so they can get careers. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. No, he just talked about staying in your lane. Exactly. Sir, you are a man. Stay in your lane. Stop addressing women directly and telling us what we should be doing. At a university graduation, being like, don't get a career. Have children. What the fuck is wrong with you?
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother.
Good for her. But why? How is this important? How is this relevant to the university graduation? You're like, congratulations, you've just spent 4 years at university. So now you can fucking forget everything you've learned and just go be a housewife because that's what's going to make you happy. You've wasted your money. You've wasted your time.
She's a primary educator to our children. She's the one who ensures I never let football or my business become a distraction from that of a husband and father. She is the person that knows me best at my core, and it is through our marriage that, Lord willing, we will both attain salvation.
It's just fascinating that this is still a speech directed at women, being like, being a wife is the best thing that's ever happened to my wife. You should all choose to be wives. Don't use your university degree. Go home, be wives. Have kids, be a homemaker. That's the best job you can have. You're speaking to a university graduation. That's like the opposite of what you're meant to be saying right now. It's like quite literally the opposite of what you're meant to be talking about. And that's another interesting thing, because I was reading other people's responses to this, and like some of the students, obviously this is a Catholic school, a lot of them enjoy the traditional values, whatever. But a lot of the students were unhappy about this speech, obviously. And one of the main things that people didn't like about it is that they were saying, and this included the nuns, being like, men can be homemakers too. And I didn't like that he was saying that only women get to stay home and look after their kids. Only women get to do that. And they were upset that it wasn't addressed to everyone. This part of the speech should have been addressed to everyone, not just the women, which I found very interesting that that was something that people were upset about. That's not what I was anticipating.
I say all of this to you because I have seen it firsthand, how much happier someone can be when they disregard the outside noise and move closer and closer to God's will in their life.
Well, yeah, this is the thing that I find with these people, that like, they live in just ignorance is bliss kind of state, right? Of like, yes, life is obviously going to be easier if you pretend that bad things don't exist. Like, that's obviously going to make life better. If I woke up and decided climate change wasn't real and that racism isn't real and misogyny isn't real, if I convinced myself all of that was true, my life would be so much better. It would be so much easier, because then I'm not stressed and upset and worried about these things. But they are real, and I would rather know about those things and try to work to make those things not a problem anymore than I would than to just ignore them, you know? Like, to quote Halsey from Nightmare, I'd rather be a real nightmare than die unaware. Like, that's exactly it. Ignorance is bliss is very real. However, it's not a good way to live. These people are like, leftists are so, they're more likely to be depressed, and they all are just emotional, angry, and sad and anxious. I'm like, yeah, because the world is fucked up. And I am aware of that, and I'm taking responsibility for that and like doing my part to try to better that. And I would rather have too many emotions than not enough. I would rather be aware of my surroundings and how people are affected by my actions and the actions of others than to only think about myself. Being selfish is easy, and that would make my life so much better. However, I care about other people. So I'm not gonna fucking do that.
Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say, heck no.
Well, now I have questions. Did you tell her she had to give up having a career, or is that a decision that she made for herself? I now have questions about the relationship dynamic.
Everything I am saying to you is not from a place of wisdom, but rather a place of experience. I am hopeful that these words will be seen as those from a man not much older than you, who feels it is imperative that this class, this generation, and this time in our society must stop pretending that the things we see around us are normal.
But you just told people to not pay attention to what's around them and just live close to God and close to home. So like, again, you're not making much sense. You keep picking and choosing things. Am I meant to be paying attention to the world around me, or am I meant to be living in my own little bubble? Which one?
There is nothing good about playing God with having children, whether that be your ideal number or the perfect time to conceive. No matter how you spin it, there is nothing natural about Catholic birth control.
This one makes no fucking sense to me. The being anti-birth control because it's like you are interfering with when God wants you to have a baby. Like, that's fucking ridiculous to me. I don't want to have a kid when my life is not ready for me to have a kid. Like, if I'm not prepared, I'm not gonna have a kid. You know what I mean? Like, if you are so anti-abortion, you should also be pro-birth control. Like, it's astounding to me that you can be anti-birth control in really any capacity. That's not playing God. That's taking, like, control over your life. And that's not playing God. That's just being a person with bodily autonomy. And, like, and how far does that go? Like, are you anti just, like, all medicine in general. Like, you can't take an ibuprofen because God wants you to have a headache right now. You can't brush your teeth with toothpaste because, that it was made to make your teeth stronger, and maybe God wants your teeth to fall out. Like, how far does this go? Where does it end? What is the line? Because if it's literally just birth control, then that's just you wanting to control women's body. And I feel like that's what it is. Like, are you against all other medicine? Are you against, like, technology? Like, surely I shouldn't be allowed to have a phone, because if God wanted me to talk to that person, they'd be standing right next to me. Like, it's just a tool to control your life and make your life easier and better.
To the gentleman here today, part of what plagues our society is this lie that has been told to you that men are not necessary in the home or in our communities. As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in.
I love, as men, we set the tone of the culture. At least you're acknowledging that men do indeed hold all the power, but for someone who seems to think that men are being threatened, it's fascinating.
This absence of men in the home is what plays a large role in the violence we see all around the nation. Other countries do not have nearly the same absentee father rates as we find here in the US. Be unapologetic in your masculinity.
I don't quite understand how being masculine and being a present father are related. These don't seem like two related things. I think that you should be a father if you have a kid and you are wanted in your child's life. And that has nothing to do with masculinity or femininity or anything. That's just to do with being a good person.
I speak from experience as an introvert who now finds myself as an amateur public speaker and an entrepreneur. Something I never thought I'd be when I received my industrial engineering degree.
Hey man, stay in your lane. How did you receive an industrial engineering degree and you're a public speaker and you're a football player? Pick one. Can't have all three. Stay in your lane.
I've been very vocal in my love and devotion to the TLM.
Okay, I don't know what the TLM is. I need to Google that, because what did he just say? Traditional Latin Mass. Just a traditional form of a Catholic Mass. Don't know what it entails, but it's something he enjoys.
I do not attend the TLM because I think I am better than others, or for the smells and bells, or even for the love of Latin. I attend the TLM because I believe, just as the God of the Old Testament was pretty particular in how he wanted to be worshipped, the same holds true for us today. The TLM is so essential that I would challenge each of you to pick a place to move where it is readily available.
Like, good for you, bro, I guess. But, like, again, I'm just confused as to what this has to do with graduating university. I'm just confused. Standing up here and being like, I don't go to TLM because I think I'm better than you. However, I think that you all should go to TLM and you should all prioritize it because it is better and it is important. So you are here talking about it because you think you're better than them. That's kind of what was just implied very heavily.
I say this knowing full well that when each of you rekindle your knowledge and adherence to many of the church's greatest traditions, you will see how much more colorful and alive your life can and should be.
Okay, there's some shade in this though, because they're graduating from a Catholic university that's like teaching Catholic values, and he's here like, when you guys reintroduce more Catholic values into your life, you're gonna have so much of a better life. Like, that feels insulting to the school, no? Surely. Being like, when you get more Catholic values, you're going to be happier. Did they not just spend 4 years at a Catholic university being taught Catholic values? Like, are you trying to say that they're bad at teaching the values? Is this an insult to the school? Because that feels like an insult. If I was people on the school board, I'd be like, hey, what the fuck? We've just spent all this time teaching them Catholic shit, and now you're saying that we haven't been? Insulting.
Sadly, I'm sure many of you know of the countless stories of good and active members of this community who, after graduation and moving away from the Benedictine bubble, have ended up moving in with their boyfriend or girlfriend prior to marriage. Some even leave the church and abandon God. It is always heartbreaking to hear these stories, and there's a desire to know what happened and what went wrong.
Well, you see, the thing is, I have an answer for this one. When you grow up in a bubble, surrounded by no one other than Catholic conservatives, that is all you know. Their opinions are your opinions because you've never been taught other opinions. You don't know about anyone outside of this. You've never heard their side of the stories. You leave that bubble and venture into the wider world, and suddenly you have perspective and you realize like, oh shit, gay people they actually haven't done anything wrong. They're just fucking living their lives. Oh shit, these people are being mistreated. I don't think that's fair. Oh shit, my life could be better if I did this thing. Oh my god, I really like having financial independence. Like, you can't learn that when you're in a bubble. And this is why, like, we need to have some sort of lenience on, like, people fucking up and, like, people being bigoted and then growing from that. We need to allow people to be assholes and then learn and grow from that. Because sometimes people do grow up in these conservative Catholic bubbles and they don't leave until they're in their 20s and they've said and done some shitty things. They've been homophobic and, like, said some horrible, harmful things because they've never actually encountered anything else. They are just basing everything off of the only thing they've ever been around. Then you leave and you're like, wait a fucking minute, these people are fine. They're just living their lives. And you have conversations and you learn and you apply real world knowledge that you've literally never had before. And you can learn and you can grow and you can be better and become a good person who is open and welcoming and loving to everyone. And I think it's important to acknowledge that we all come from places and learn things at different times, and we can move through things and become better people. Leaving a university like this, it is so unsurprising to then go on and become like a lefty liberal, because that's what happens when you enter the real world and you have real world experience and are around people. All these people being like, when you go to college, it turns you liberal. No, it just lets you meet people outside of your church. That's what it does. Because your entire world is so small that you don't allow people to learn anything bigger. And when they do, they learn, they adapt, they grow. That's like a natural way of things. That's what happens. They move in with their girlfriend, they move in with their boyfriend because they understand and realize that that's not actually a problem, and that's what makes them happy. And they want to be happy.
As you prepare to enter into the workforce, it is extremely important that you actually think about the places you are moving to. Who is the bishop? What kind of parishes are there? Do they offer the TLM and have priests who embrace their priestly vocation? Cost of living must not be the only arbiter of your choices.
Spoken like a fucking true rich person. Cost of living should not impact your decisions. Some people kind of have to take that into consideration. We're not all fucking millionaires, bro. Like, I'm sorry if the, like, best church is in a place that I can't afford, but, like, I can't fucking afford that. And you also just told me I have to be a homemaker, so I really, really can't afford that. I'm not allowed to move in with my partner because that's sinful. I also have to be a homemaker, so I'm not allowed to earn my own money, even though I literally just got a university degree. But also I'm meant to live in a place where I don't consider the cost of living? Make that make fucking sense.
I know that my message today had a little less fluff than is expected for these speeches, but I believe that this audience and this venue is the best place to speak openly and honestly about who we are and where we all want to go. Make no mistake, you are entering into mission territory in a post-God world, but you were made for this, and with God by your side and a constant striving for virtue within your vocation, you too can be a saint. Christ is King to the heights.
Wow, what a fucking wild ride that was. I need someone to let me know if this is like a normal thing for universities to do, like what these speeches normally sound like, because none of this made sense to me as a university speech at all. Like, given a Catholic school or no, this was just kind of absurd. I like, our speeches, not that I can remember them, very much would have been just centered around like, we're proud of you. Good luck venturing into the world. You've worked so hard. You've achieved so much. There would have been nothing about politics or marriage or anything like that. It would have just entirely been like, good job. Onwards and upwards. Thank you for attending. Congratulations. So people obviously were not super happy about this speech. Because why would they be? It's fucking absurd. Half of it made no sense. Actually, none of it made any sense. I don't understand its purpose. But like, so much hypocrisy, so much fucking whining, and then so much just being like, I am better than you. Yeah, misogynistic, homophobic, you know, all that good stuff. We love that in a university speech. We love a university speech where we tell women to not use their degrees and just be homemakers and look forward to being wives. It was fantastic, brilliant. We covered all the good points. Just fascinating. Anyway, I think that I'm going to leave this here. I think the video is over. I am going to end this here. I hope that you enjoyed. This was a bit of a mess, because he was a bit of a mess and my brain is a bit of a mess, but I hope that you enjoyed nonetheless. If you want to watch me react to this in full, the live stream will be re-uploaded on my Patreon, patreon.com/savvycat, if you want to check that out. Speaking of, a massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. I appreciate you greatly. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Bobby, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Elias, Chris, Samuel, Radsack, Mr. Noodle, Jonathan, and Bonbon. I love and appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, and more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah. When you close your eyes.